Always a delight to talk to Clay Harbor, and he joins us in studio, which is magnificent. And Clay, we played it. We played the Ben Johnson quote on letdowns. He just refused to acknowledge the word, said he didn't know the definition of it, and it's kind of amusing. The guy, again, if you gave him a vocabulary test, I'm sure he'd ace it, but he just refuses to listen to a word like that. And we had a nice conversation this morning about the difference between the NFL and college football, for instance, where, you know, a single play can turn the game. You're not allowed to let that happen in the NFL. There are too many ways to control the clock, to control a particular series. You're just not allowed to let a team steamroll you, and you're not allowed to not be prepared for an opponent. There's no such thing. As much as people talk about trap games, that's more a college concept, definitely a high school concept, than it is an NFL one. Not saying it can't happen, but the reality of the league is everybody knows everybody can beat you on any given Sunday.
Exactly right. Any given Sunday, there's a chance for a team to win. This isn't college. You're playing against NFL athletes. So sometimes you just get beat by a worse team. There, in my opinion, I agree. There's not a trap game. Look at a guy like Ben Johnson. He had the number one seed in the NFC last year, the top offense in the NFL. Do you think this guy's thinking about trap games coming when he's losing 2 games in the entire season? Go in a meeting room with Bill Belichick and talk about a letdown game. You just won a game. That game's gone. If you say a word about last week, you are solely, completely focused. If you're playing the Rams, I don't care if you're playing a college team, he's going to have you so focused on this game. That is all you're eating, sleeping, drinking, you're scheming. When the ball is snapped, is anybody thinking about last week? No, I am considering what my matchup is, what I have to do to win this game. This is still an NFL player across from me. You look at your individual matchups. You don't look at this team as a whole. Right. My matchup might be tougher against the Saints than it was against Commanders because this guy's harder. So now I have to prepare even more. So in my opinion, as far as individually as an NFL football player, I have never believed in the trap game. I've never believed in this huge game talking about the rival. When I was with the Eagles, I was talking to you last night. Do I care that we're playing against the Dallas Cowboys? Absolutely not. I'm going to prepare like I prepare
that's
every week.
Fascinating to me. We got into a really good conversation off the air yesterday.
I was hangry mostly.
You were hangry. You were definitely. You hadn't eaten in 46 hours, so I was very forgiving. But it was very interesting to me because what you just said there, if you as a player had expressed that publicly, you would have gotten killed by the fan base because fans do look at rivalries differently. But what you're saying makes a lot of sense. You really can't change your approach, your mentality, your preparation from week to week, whether it's in the Eagles case, the Cowboys, or in the Bears case, the Packers, or in this case, preparing for a Saints team that human nature would suggest, well, it's not Monday Night Football, it's not prime time, it's noon on the lakefront against a 1-5 team. You're going to naturally have a little bit of an emotional letdown. But you're saying no because you're a professional and you're going to bring it each and every week.
Absolutely not. I don't care who you ask. I know you guys have Olin Kreutz on here a lot, Patrick Manley. All these guys are going to tell you the same thing. I've never been in a locker room. I played 9 years for 5 teams. There is no such thing as a trap game in the NFL. There is so much focus that goes into every week. If you can say that, oh, this was a trap game, we took them lightly. No, you're not being serious. You think these coaches are going to let a team come in to a game without being fully prepared and let you know that this team is a team that can beat you? And the way, like Bill Belichick, he's going to make you think that the Houston Texans, a 2016, were the 85 Bears. He's going to have you terrified that this is the biggest game of your life, and you're going in there and you're really thinking you're an underdog. So I just really don't believe in the trap game. When the ball is snapped, who's going to execute better? Who's going to get the job done? It's not like the Bears are thinking about just sitting back there, oh yeah, man, last week was great, but we have to play tonight. But still, last week against the Commanders was nice. No, you are focused on the game tonight.
Clay, I'm glad you mentioned Olin and Patrick, because before Chicago takes on New Orleans, tune in Sunday from 9 to noon for your local Ford dealers pregame show. The show is right here on 670 The Score. Olin Kreutz, Patrick Manley, and myself will get you set for the game, and then immediately following, you'll hear instant reaction on the post-game show. It's presented by TimberTech, decking and railing, and a Turo tire. All of it can be heard on the Score and the Odyssey app. Those guys are great.
So when you look at the Saints game then, even if the Bears are fully prepared, what are they preparing for? This is a team, as you say, you can't take lightly. They've got some veterans on in this roster, in that depth chart, that are really accomplished guys, and yet they haven't been able to bring it together with first-year coach Kellen Moore. When you look at the Saints, how big of a challenge is this for the Bears?
It's a huge challenge. In the last 8 times they played, how many times the Bears have beat the Saints?
Last 8?
0.
Wow.
We're going back to 2008. Kyle Orton was slinging the ball to Greg Olson. Wow. I was still in college.
Holy
okay,
God.
This hasn't, for some reason.
They haven't beaten the Saints since 2008?
Since 2008.
How did I not know that?
They have not beaten the New Orleans Saints. Wow. So there's something there. But this team isn't a 1-5 team in my estimation. You look at last week against the Patriots team, it's got a lot of momentum. Spencer Rattler, he's the butt of a lot of jokes. This guy's playing well. He's not throwing the ball deep downfield, but he's 22 at 26, 250 yards. He's got some weapons on the team. Alvin Kamara looked good last week. He's throwing the ball to, obviously, Olave out there is having a good season.
Yep.
Rashid Shaheed is having a good season. Juwan Johnson is a solid tight end. Then you got Cam Johnson, the D end. I've played with this guy, but he's found the fountain of youth. And this guy's my age, but he is still making plays,
Wow.
and he's a tough block. There are players out there. Kellen Moore is calling a decent offense here. This run defense is ranked in the top 10 in EPA per play. I know we love that since Ben brought that into our vocabulary.
You were a teammate with Cam Jordan?
I was a teammate with Cam Jordan in New Orleans Saints.
You had to block Cam Jordan in practice?
Cam Jordan was one of the most unblockable guys that I have ever played. He's never had those huge numbers, but just a massive human being, and he could do whatever he wanted to. If he wanted to rush you, if he wanted to give you a little wiggle, you had to double team him. And he isn't a guy that's known like J.J. Watt. Played against J.J. Watt twice a year for 3 years, probably played against him 10 times in my entire career. As far as blockability, I would put Cam Jordan up there with J.J. Watt.
Wow.
That's how tough of a block that man was, and he's just a straight player. And he's still playing at a high level. I just flipped on the film, just doing some early stuff on the Saints. This team's a hard-playing team. Kellen Moore has them playing hard. The defensive backfield isn't good, but besides that, they got a pretty solid team.
We heard yesterday from the head coach talking about the defensive coordinator, and he said that he'd be lost without Dennis Allen, and he talked about how Dennis Allen is giving them a schematic advantage, and we didn't really get into it. We'll probably talk about it tomorrow because I think it's still a very interesting fact that he's the former head coach there, and now he is the defensive coordinator here. He's done a very good job as the defensive coordinator. We talked a little bit about going through the bye week and actually being able to stop the run better. Now, they got a couple players back, but a lot of that was using personnel differently. It was self-scouting, looking at what you're doing. We saw both sides of the ball in the Washington game improve. The run game improved, and obviously the run defense improved. That is coaching more than being able. In the old days, you'd have training camp style practices on a bye week. You can't do that anymore. Everyone gets the week off. How do you explain that they did so well? I think it comes down to coaching as much as anything, and I think Dennis Allen's done a hell of a job.
Absolutely, and the fact that he garners such respect. A guy like Tremaine Edmonds, $100 million contract. If there's a coach that's a little bit weak and you sense a little bit of weakness, you try to move him to Will, he's going to fight you on it. He's not going to like it. You want to put TJ at Mike and me at Will, he's going to have some words for you about it. Guess what? Dennis Allen, the guy's been a head coach in this league for a number of years, defensive coordinators for a number of years. Trust me, I played in a roster with Dennis Allen back in New Orleans Saints. He's not taking crap, and everybody respects him, respects the heck out of him. So when he says, TJ's playing Mike this week, Tremaine, you're playing Will, and they go out there and have the game that they did as a linebacking core. I don't know if there was a better two-man linebacking performance that I saw all week this week from the film that I've seen. Those two guys played off each other so well. It's like TJ hadn't missed a game. TJ was making tackles, taking on blocks. Tremaine in his gap, taking on blocks. Everybody seemed to be just, it was emphasized. It was obviously emphasized over the bye week. Everybody seemed to be really gearing on this run. You would see the defensive backs. Obviously, Kyler Gordon made some big plays, made a big difference. But even Nashawn Wright had a couple of tackles. He looked softer.
And he was very reluctant early.
Very reluctant. He looked like, hey, my job's on the line if I don't start tackling. I got to do this. Defensive line, I thought Sweat had a bounce-back game. I don't think he played up to a $25 million contract, but I thought he played like a solid defensive end. I thought he had a good game. I liked them using Shamar Turner at edge. He had 22 snaps. All 22 were at defensive end. He played extremely well in the run game. His pass rush moves, David, I think you got better pass rush moves from the defensive end position. I'm watching this tape and I'm going, what are you doing, man? You're just running right into the offensive tackle. That'll come, but his play against the run, they have tight ends trying to block him. He's throwing poor Zach Ertz, who's like 65 years old, in the backfield and getting a nice tackle.
Wanted to ask you this the other day. How does a guy like Dominic Robinson, in this case, he's played a lot more snaps, I think, than people anticipated, but he's an edge rusher. He got caught in coverage against a running back. He got picked, and it was one of those situations where you're surprised the Commanders didn't exploit it more. How do you avoid those kind of situations, or just sometimes that's going to happen? And then do you see Austin Booker as a possibility of either replacing or being added to the mix at rush edge?
Dominic Robinson had a solid game. You know, he had that half a sack with Javon Dexter. Javon Dexter kind of snaked in there to get that half. It should have been Dominic Robinson. But what he's really good at is he's athletic and he's good at these loops. He's not a good pure pass rusher. He's a really good guy with these stunts, these loops. He knows how to pick. He does that well. But that was just one of those bad breaks, man. You got caught in a coverage to where if a running back releases, you got Dominic Robinson on him. Most of the time, that's Tremaine Edmonds. Most of the time, that's T.J. Edwards. They are good at motioning.
And that was after Noah Sewell got knocked out of the game.
Noah Sewell had the concussion. Now you bring in a backup guy I'd never heard of who actually had a couple big plays, and you get Dominic Robinson on the edge there, and the running back just runs a nice little wheel route. Zach Ertz keeps it within 1 yard. So if it's with 1 yard in, that pick is legal. If it's past 1 yard, it's illegal. It was in that in-between period. Obviously, that works for the Commanders, but when when Theo Benedict lines up a centimeter maybe deep, they're going to call us for a touchdown that we should have had to Rome Odunze. And to speak of Theo Benedict, something I wanted to say. Couldn't be more impressed with what I saw from him. He's got 32-inch arms. That's the reason he didn't get drafted. He was the 2-time Player of the Year in Canada for an offensive lineman. That's impressive. I don't care if you're playing Division II football, Division III football. That's a guy that shows consistency, didn't miss a game. You see him now. He's a guy in the run game that finishes every play. You see DeAndre Swift falling forward. Look behind him. Theo Benedict's usually pushing him forward. And then Darnell Wright. Just seeing what he's able to do, especially with the Darth Vader arm.
Oh my God.
Luke Skywalker chopped it, in the
How
bionicle arm.
limiting must that be?
It wasn't limiting at all. This guy looks, when he is doing things right, I think Poles got this one right. When he is doing things right, he has a Pro Bowl potential. And Monday, again, you saw that. I mean, this guy was moving people in the run game, didn't get moved in the pass game. He's just one of those dudes. He reminds you a little bit of like a young poor man's Penei Sewell. The way he moves with his size, his strength, he's moving guys with one arm. He's getting 2-for-1s. It wasn't just a big 2-for-1 that they highlighted. He got a couple of 2-for-1s that game. He's doing excellent.
Two wide receivers or two defensive backs out with one block.
One arm.
He pushed one guy off, a lineman, and then he blocked a second level guy. I mean, that was by far his best game. And that's the question I had, David. Sometimes when a guy has an injury, sometimes when you are limited, I can remember Trace Armstrong broke his elbow one time and he had his arm locked, and he was talking about how he had kind of developed this, Reggie White move where he could use his arm as a weapon, and you're kind of like, that's insane. But sometimes an injury refocuses someone or brings out the best in them in a weird way.
Attention to detail.
Yes.
Maybe that's part of it.
He played excellent. I thought the whole line did well. I thought Drew Dahlman had an up and down game. But when you look when the chips were down and some of these late plays, you can't really pull a center, and most centers aren't athletic enough to get to the second level. You look at some of these DeAndre Swift plays, Drew Dahlman's on linebackers. And that's stuff that like we used to see when I played with Jason Kelsey. He comes in at a young age, his athleticism. You go, wow, this Kelsey guy can really help. He can get you an extra guy on a linebacker. And that's something that you kind of see with Drew Dahlman. Not the most physical. He gets pushed back a little bit, got beat a couple times in protection. But as far as his ability to position block and his athletic ability to get on linebackers, he's been really good.
Joe Tooney was also excellent in that game, and he's such a technique guy. I don't even know if we appreciate how mistake-free he's been.
Exactly. The way he plays, it's not sexy. It doesn't look great. But then you just look, and guess what the other defensive lineman is doing? Absolutely nothing. He's locked up. He's just so close to Joe Tooney. He can see what he had he can smell what he had for lunch.
Your guys at PFF had him the highest ranked offensive lineman.
As he should have been. I mean, he was covering guys up all week. He's so intelligent. He's not getting beaten past pro. He's just locked on to guys. He's not pushing them 10 yards downfield, doing some of the crazy-looking stuff like you see from our guy Darnell Wright. But Tooney is just as consistent as it comes, and that's why you love him.
Were you surprised by the production of DeAndre Swift?
I was a little surprised. You know, that Bears running game was struggling. But I like how they didn't beat their head against the wall with this duo stuff that we know Ben Johnson loves to use. You saw the wide zone scheme.
Yes.
If it was toss crack, if it was wide zone and you're pulling a tight end, a counter, there was a specific menu. And I told David, you know what I like about a nice restaurant? I told you this? A small menu. When you go in there, they got 10 dishes. You know they do all of those well. You don't have to worry about picking one of these 20, 30 options on the menu. You got 10 items. You know all of them are good. Give me that. You know the items are good, and that's what the Bears running game was. Everything they called, if it was the toss crack, if it was the counters, if it was the wide zone, it was all good plays that they knew how to run.
It was putting a running back in the position where he can succeed.
Small menu of plays.
Yes.
I'm just glad you're eating again.
Yeah, man, dude. Honestly, at the end, it got tough there.
48-hour fast.
48-hour fast, 2 days, no food.
Wow.
Yeah.
And no problem? Is that the longest you've ever gone?
Longest I've ever gone. I mean, there were cravings. Like, your body's an insane thing, and I didn't feel hungry. After, like, 16 hours, 17, 18, you start, the hunger's gone. But you just start to crave things. But you do get, like, this insane mental clarity, which is wild. You are so energetic, even though you have no food in your system. You get into ketosis, and now this has become a health and wellness radio show here. But, you know.
You sticking around for another segment?
Yeah, let's do it.
And that is the voice of Caleb Williams, and he's talking about the criticism that he received from Troy Aikman, and Clay kind of went on. Caleb went on Instagram, and he made a post where he was kind of referencing that criticism, and he joked about it. And then he's asked about it. He said it was a friendly troll, and he was just kidding around. And he also said he didn't care about the criticism, but you got the sense, the very fact he was talking about it, that it did bother him. It clearly bothered the head coach. I had a lot of people contacting me saying that Aikman wanted after him because he missed the production meeting and all this stuff. It was kind of amusing. I personally love hearing Troy Aikman. I think he does a really good job. I understand the difference between a guy giving football analysis and someone kind of cheerleading for a team. I can understand if people felt upset that he was kind of favoring one quarterback over the other or complimenting one guy and not the other. I personally wasn't taken by it, but clearly the Bears are keeping it alive. A great subject for us on sports radio, but does it become personal? Did you, as a player, take criticism the wrong way?
You played in Philly. That's a tough market.
Yeah, play in Philly and get on Twitter after a game. You drop a football on Monday Night Football, which I happened. jump off a building, Clay Harbor. Like, oh my gosh. Like there's a lot of that going on. But my favorite quote
Really tough.
to this type of thing is back when Kobe Bryant was winning all these championships and a guy's asking him, how do you deal with all these fans at these opposing stadiums? You're coming in, they're yelling at you, they're booing. And his response was this: boos don't block dunks. So if I was to tell Caleb Williams one thing, I'm going to say, boos don't block dunks. It doesn't matter what Troy Aikman says. Doesn't matter what that fan says. I don't care. Let them talk. You keep working. You stay laser focused. And I know it looks like he's focusing on it because he does a social media post about it. I think he's having fun. It's a new generation, David. Different than we were when we were there, you know? Different guys, they post a lot of stuff on the social media. He's having fun with it. But I do think Troy Aikman was slanted towards Jaden Daniels. If I'm scheduled for a date with a girl and she blows me off, I'm not going to be happy about it. I might not say the nicest things about her, like Troy Aikman getting blowed off for the production meeting. He probably wasn't happy about it. He's a professional. He has his schedule routine set. I meet with this quarterback then. I meet with this quarterback then. This offensive coordinator then. This offensive coordinator then. I call Illinois State, Missouri Valley football games. I like to get my quarterbacks and my offensive coordinator at a specific time. Yeah. Imagine with Troy Aikman, who this is his career, like not his life's work, but he is one of the best in the business, how he feels not being able to talk to the starting quarterback, the star of this team, when he wanted to.
That's interesting insight from your perspective. You've been through it. I'm just curious from your perspective as well. How surprised are you that we're talking about this in large part because Ben Johnson gave it life. He gave it oxygen. He didn't diminish it when he was talking to the Bears flagship radio station, and he even the next day at the press conference referenced it like it bothered him. And I know coaches always are looking for perceived edges or slights, but he kind of amplified this story more than it needed to be amplified.
Well, you got to realize 90% of the fans that are watching, they're getting their information from these color commentators. Yes. So their perception of the Bears are based off of what these guys say. So they do have immense power to kind of shape a narrative of a team. They just listen to what these guys say. Okay, this is what's happening. And when you're kind of talking bad about an offense, don't like the way we're doing things around here, apparently, don't like the way we're winning games, calling his play lucky that he probably designed, called at the exact right time. DeAndre Swift breaks a tackle. Oh, that was a lucky play for Caleb Williams and the Bears. Yeah. Ben Johnson's like, no, I called the right play. Caleb hit him. DeAndre broke a tackle. Yeah, one of the Saints guy loafed. Guess what? We don't teach our guys to loaf. They apparently loaf there. I said Saints. I'm not Commanders, guys. You already talked about the Saints for next week. But one of the Commanders players, Marshawn Lattimore, another former teammate of mine, had a loaf, and DeAndre Swift ran it for a touchdown. Oh, that's a lucky play for the Bears. You think the Bears think that's a lucky play? No.
Well, as I said to David earlier, the way to combat it is to keep getting lucky. Keep having those lucky plays to a point where they're no longer calling them that, right?
Yeah, that's why they're getting so many turnovers. There's this huge conversation around, can you design these turnovers? And I was talking to David last night, and like I said, a lot of different teams. There's some good parts about being a guy that's been on a lot of different teams. You see a lot of different teams, how they run a lot of different defensive structures and focus on turnovers. Every single organization preaches turning the ball over and going after the ball to a T. It's the same thing. We got to get the football. We got to get the football. Oh my God, if we get the football, we're going to win the game. Everybody does it. Everybody.
So why do they come in bunches, do you think? Why do they seem to be something that is sustainable? Because we start to say, well, this is contagious, it's infectious. Is it really, or is it just, dare I say it, lucky?
I think there's some guys, like we had one in Chicago, Peanut Tillman. He was a guy that just knew how to get the ball with the peanut punch. The peanut punch. That is a guy you point to and say, is it lucky that he's forced 36 fumbles in his career or whatever he had?
That was technique.
That was technique. There are some guys that had Kevin Byard, 30-something interceptions in his career. Oh, is that just luck? No, this guy knows how to play specific coverages, knows how to read a quarterback guy. So there are some things that are technical and by design. But when the quarterback drops a snap, throws it into the running back's stomach, and he drops the ball, and you say, yeah, our guy did a good job of falling on it. That's a little bit lucky. I'm sorry.
Well, I agree with you. But as it was pointed out, what are you doing trying to run out of the shotgun when you're in 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 and it's pouring rain? Why not get up under center, snap the ball, and try to run for a yard or two yourself? You got 2 plays to do it in, and the game is dead. It didn't make any sense to put the guy in the shotgun and have him fumble the ball to the receiver. I mean, the poor running back, he never got handed. It was like,
he threw him the ball.
Yes, it was crazy.
Yeah, Mully. In that situation, most offensive coordinators are going to snap the ball to the quarterback. You eliminate the chance for that to even happen. So Cliff Kingsbury there probably got a little bit too cute.
When you look at Caleb Williams, what's the one area you think he's improved in the most?
I think playing in timing and in structure. He's cut his sack rate in half from last year. He's done an excellent job at that. His downfield accuracy's gotten a lot better. I know there was a couple plays last week. That ball he threw like 70 yards to Rome, but like watching the film back, there was nothing there. He just threw the ball up and gave Rome a shot.
Into double coverage.
Into double
coverage. So they had
coverage.
to have a purpose for trying to stretch a defense or make them think that the deep threat was real, because he wasn't even open.
He wasn't open, but here's what he's saying. He goes, my guy's 6'4". I trust Rome. If he's not going to catch the ball, guess what? Bat this thing down. It's an incompletion. Maybe we get a pass interference. I don't mind that throw as much as a lot of other people do.
Yeah.
But I think just him operating the game, the confidence you see with him operating the system pre-snap on a loud environment.
Yes.
You're in Washington before the play, getting everybody lined up. He's directing traffic out there. He looks like this guy on my way home every night, this cop. He's literally directing traffic. He's telling everybody where to go. You're next. Okay, no, you're over there. Now bringing the motion over here. He's doing an excellent job of that. And then his timing in the pocket, something we didn't see last year, cutting his sacks in half. He has looked great with that.
I thought Aikman made a very sensible criticism of him when he talked about the mid-range passes. And he pointed out that had he been a little more accurate with that pass and led the player a little bit, that is how all of those Detroit passes, those great passes you see that have made St. Brown such a dangerous player, that's how they work. With that, I thought that was a legitimate criticism, and I know people were upset by it because it was a completion, but it was that close to one of those yak plays that are so much deciding upon how well a team does in the passing game.
No, absolutely. Hitting those guys in stride, hitting him in on the front pad, that is something he needs to get better at. There was another play where Olamide Zaccheaus dropped an easy touchdown where Troy Aikman tried to tell me that this wasn't a good pass. I got it on film here. I'm going to show you guys when we go to break. This pass, you can ask, I don't know who you guys have that come in here, any running back, any tight end, any wide receiver, if they say, was this a perfect pass? It was perfect. He didn't break stride. He should have been out the gate. That could have been a touchdown.
Yes.
If he scores that touchdown, you don't have the bogus call on Theo, and then Rome catches his touchdown. We're talking about Caleb Williams had a 4-touchdown day, 300-plus yards passing. It wasn't even close. So
I'm glad you called it a bogus play on Theo.
It was a bogus play. Trust me, I'm very cognizant. As a tight end, you have to be on the line. We line up off the tackle. I know scenarios where that happens. A guy tries to cheat a little bit. You had an edge rusher that's quick off the edge. You want to get a little bit of depth so you can block them. You can get back to your spot a little bit quicker. Theo wasn't doing that at all, and it was just so insane they made that call.
But they said they warned him of it,
once before,
which told you that they were looking for it and they were going to call it, and they called it because they warned him. I really believe that had nothing to do with the actual
But he
play.
looked like a guy that had been warned and had moved up.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
He did move up. That's why his helmet was in
his
the
helmet was
his leg
was back a little.
Yeah.
And I think they looked at that, not where his helmet was.
Clay, when you watch the Bears defense and you see Tyreek Stevenson, who had a quiet night, but I think that was because his coverage has improved. How do you explain his rapid improvement, and is he better at this stage of the season than you thought he would be?
He's better, but let's not forget he gave up that stutter and go touchdown.
Yep.
when Kevin Byer was coming over late. So we had that, okay? But besides that...
That's true. That was a heck of a route.
That was a heck of a route.
That was a great route.
And he left him.
You're right.
He left him. That route, I mean, it's tough to really criticize him for that because that was an insane route and a really good throw. But he has started to play much better. And he's a guy that he took that on. He said that he thought that the last year, the Hail Mary, was a good thing for him. Had a tough first couple weeks, and he bounced back. That just tells me this guy's resilient. He has a good routine. He's watching film. He's going to practice. He's watching his iPad when he goes home. They send over the game plan before the next day before you go into practice. Say it's Thursday, so you're working third down the next day or red zone the next day. He's looking before he comes into practice. He's making sure he has the red zone comprehended. Then you come in and you get the red zone install. It's your second time looking at it. Now you're taking your notes. He just looks like a guy that's confident of where he's lining up, when he's shifting, when he's motioning, how he's getting things done. And those are the guys that do the best and you can rely on the most. And sometimes it takes a couple of years before you to really realize how important this routine and these habits are of when the game plan comes through, maybe sometimes at 9 p.m. at night, take that hour before you go to bed, look through the entire game plan, then go to bed, and you retain it so much better when you learn it the next day. And I think you got a team of guys that are figuring that stuff out, including your quarterback, Caleb Williams.
So what do you think happens on Sunday? They're on a 3-game run. They've got a more beatable opponent, an opponent that's allowing 27 points a game. They're scoring 25 points a game. Do they win this game on Sunday back home?
Spencer Rattler's good against the blitz. The Saints have the third best EPA versus the run. Okay, the last 12 starts, though, Caleb Williams has 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. The Saints are allowing a 111 rating on the year. That's 30th. 14 passing touchdowns on the year. That's 30th.
Wow.
If you protect Caleb Williams, this is an opportunity for the Bears to have a big-time day throwing the football down the field, especially to wide receivers. They're giving up a ton to wide receivers, not so much to tight ends. I think this is a scrappy team. I think Spencer Rattler is better than you think. I think Kellen Moore is a little bit better of an offensive mind than you think. Defensive backfield is poor. Cam Jordan, I told you, he found the fountain of youth. We need to figure out where it's at, David. But I don't think this is a trap game. I don't think this is a trap game like David does. I think the Bears come out. It's going to be close. They're going to win by 3, and we're going to be happy. They're going to be 4-2?
4-2, they would be, yes. Quickly, tonight you are speaking at an event. It is the Chicago Legends Gala, and it's to benefit Good Sports organization.
Yeah.
Quickly, what are you going to say?
I'm just going to tell my story a little bit. Their story is kind of my story. Good Sports does a good job of giving equipment, mentors to underprivileged children. And growing up, I grew up in a similar situation, underprivileged. I got a lot of hand-me-down stuff from my brother, and that dude used to sweat a lot. So I'd be in these cleats that didn't feel right, man, sweated up cleats, whatever. So it's just I feel connected to them because of the way I grew up, and I know how much you can help a kid by giving them equipment and opportunity. Everybody deserves an opportunistic start, not just a lucky one.
Chance.
Not just a lucky one.
Yes.
So I love how they're giving opportunity to these underprivileged kids.
It's at the Four Seasons. You got a tie?
David, I don't got a tie, man. I've been wearing just my...
Just ask it, Clay. I know.
You got to bring one for me tonight?
I'll bring you an extra one.
Bring me a black tie, please.
All right, I will.
All right, thanks.
All right. He's Clay Harbor. Thank you, Clay. Great stuff. Really appreciate it.